traversait les trajets de son service militaire par les villages français en Lorraine, à Metz, Sarralbe, Sarreguemines, Sarrebourg. Je connais tous ces villages et tous les environs où Messiaen était et travaillait comme les soldats de l'armée française.
So I traveled and followed the step of that war period where Olivier Messiaen was as a soldier. So I went in Lorraine, in Metz, in Sarrebourg, Sarreguemines, Sarrebourg, and I really followed closely all this journey as a soldier in the French army.
Et finalement, la France a tombé, les nazis sont entrés en France, c'est juin 1940, et Olivier Messiaen est devenu prisonnier de guerre. Il se trouvait dans les camps de Toul et après, à partir du temps de Nancy, vous allez voir pendant la conférence, de Nancy, il était transporté au Stalag 8A à Gerlitz.
So France, of course, got occupied, as we know, and was invaded. And at that time, Olivier Messiaen became a prisoner of war. So he was transferred nearby Nancy, and he was transported deep into the Nazi Third Reich and imprisoned in Görslich camp on the border of Saxony and Silesia.
Aujourd'hui, les camps se trouvent en Pologne, dans le village Zgorzelec, et là-bas, il y a le musée, les terrains de camps qu'on peut visiter, et on a construit un nouveau centre muséal, et il y a une société qui s'occupe du centre Olivier Messiaen à Zgorzelec en Pologne.
So now there is a museum actually in Poland, in Zgorzelec, that has been created in the honor of the memory of Olivier Messiaen during this time of war. So this is the preserved remains of the Stalag number 8A and at Görlitz POW camp. And so this new built museum center he had the honor to inaugurate with a lecture in 2015.
Et voilà, c'est toute une histoire pour vous expliquer comment un musicologue polonais s'occupe de la vie d'Olivier Messiaen pendant la guerre, sur place, parce que les camps se trouvent dans le territoire polonais.
So that explains why Polish musicologue was so interested in the life of Olivier Messiaen, because that part of his life happened in the camp in Poland.
Et voilà, c'est toute ma passion, tout mon amour vers la musique d'Olivier Messiaen, vers cette époque très difficile où il a créé Quatuor pour la fin du temps.
So this is about all my love and passion for Olivier Messiaen and that extraordinary time where he was able to compose Quatuor pour la fin du temps. Quatuor for the end of time.
Et comment le Quatuor pour la fin du temps est né? Comment il y avait beaucoup d'événements inconnus dans Stalag que je vais expliquer et présenter dans ma conférence qui va se commencer maintenant en langue anglaise.
So I'm going to start my conference now in English, where I will explain to you how the Quartet for the End of Time was composed and created, and all the process of this extraordinary piece that you're going also to hear tonight. And yeah.
Nous pouvons commencer.
Thank you very much for the translations. Now we are going to the presentation. And so, here is the slide 2 that was regarding this meeting Professor Wright with Olivier Messiaen in Poland. And in August 1939, Olivier Messiaen was in Dauphin Alps in his summer studio in Petichet. He has completed his second organ cycle, Les Corps Glorieux. He was then called up to the military unit in Paris, where he immediately went. That's the picture. He was included in the compulsory military service, but due to poor eyesight and glasses, he remained in the auxiliary service. He was a soldier who was not allowed to carry and use weapons. The only photo of Olivier Messiaen from Metz. And he spent the war campaign of the winter of 1939-1940 in Lorraine, carrying out heavy physical work, transferred to various places from Metz, Sarreguemines to Sarablais, where he became a paramedic in a military hospital. And in mid-April 1940, he was transferred to Verdun, where General Charles Cousiger, with the 2nd French Army, founded the Centre Théâtral et Musical at the military orchestra. It was only in Verdun Messiaen that he had the opportunity to return to music. And the attack of the Nazi troops on France and the last lost battle of the French at Verdun on June 15, 1940, causes Messiaen to flee south with 3 companions towards Epinal. On June 22, 1940, one day of the so-called Armistice, when the France signs the act of surrender to Germany, in the town of Jerzy, department of Mer of Messiaen, they are taken prisoner. The German list of prisoners of war are the proof. You can see the black. And I discovered this place of Jerzy near Tours and Nancy, previously unknown in Messiaen's biography, where he and 3 companions were taken prisoner by the Germans. The site was mistakenly identified by Christopher Brand Murray as Jerzy GG in the joint department. It was only by considering the fact of Messiaen's imprisonment in the context of the nearby Stalag 162 prisoner of war camp in Tours, where all the prisoners were, and that it was possible to establish the correct place of Messiaen's imprisonment. I presented a historical analysis of this fact at Colloque Messiaen at Tours, 1940. In May this year, in Tours, participants together with the mayor of the city of Tours, Mr. Aldo Almar, went to Jerzy to pay tribute to the captured French prisoners of war, Messiaen and his companions. That's the conference photo. And the next one will have a tribute to Messiaen and the French musicians. Yes, by the Polish clarinet Piotr Lato on the clarinet. In the front Stalag 162 camp in Tours, the POWs were kept in a large meadow. At dawn, Messiaen listened to the birds sing and began sketching a piece for clarinet solo. The fragments were performed by the clarinet player Henry Akota. The notes were held by Etienne Pasquier, who in his memories testifies to the beginning of composing the piece for solo clarinet in Tours. Then Messiaen and his companions were transported to the front Stalag 161 camp in Charles de Belle and to Bromboin-Villers near Nancy, from where the prisoners of war were transported to Germany. And then we can see the French, transport list. The listist cellist Etienne Pasquier and the singer René Charles claimed that Messiaen was transported with them. The departure point of the Grand Villers transport was also mentioned by Messiaen in a recent interview with Léo Samarin. However, the Red Cross archives in Geneva have made available to me another German transport list, which also includes Messiaen. This other transport departed from another station, Saarburg. No musicologist dealing with Messiaen's biography has yet attempted to explain this complication. Historians state that Messiaen arrived at Stalag 8A in Greece on July 28, 1940. Thought his unknown registration card I arrived at was dated August 15, delayed by 2 weeks. It can be assumed that this is because of Messiaen's disease of typhoid fever, during which the composer was looked after by Polish nuns. You can see the registration. In the overcrowded camp in Görlitz, living conditions were difficult. The French Messiaen colleagues turned to the Polish prisoners of war who had built his camp and were the first prisoners of war here on how to prevent Messiaen from being sent to forced labor. The decision was made by the Polish prisoner of war Zdzisław Nardelny, who was organizing the camp library by order of the commandant. He hired Messiaen as an assistant in his library, thus protecting him from the heavy physical labor to which the prisoners were sentenced. You can see now this what happened. After the situation stabilized in the Germans, let's listen now a little of the movie. We can have here movie The Charm of Impossibility, directed by Nicolas Buenaventura Vidal from 2006. Let's listen a little bit video.
I wówczas ci koledzy francuscy zwrócili się do nas z prośbą, a to już to muszę powiedzieć, że Francuzi pracowali fizycznie. I zwrócono się do nas wówczas koledzy francuscy o schowanie Messiaena, żeby on nie musiał iść w tych zimnych czasach na roboty. Ja zostałem mianowany bibliotekarzem. Między barakami, było tak, między barakami, salą koncertową, barakami, salą koncertową, kaplicą, było takie małe pomieszczenie, które Niemcy przeznaczyli na bibliotekę dla jeńców. Trochę byłem zaskoczony samą osobowością Messiaena, bo odniosłem takie wrażenie, jakby na ludzkim torsie osadzona była kamienna głowa. Takie miałem pierwsze wrażenie. Drugie wrażenie to było takie, że on patrzy uchem. To było niesamowite dla mnie. Wiedziałem, że on wszystko, co widzi, słyszy. Znaczy słyszy okiem, albo patrzy uchem. Takie miałem wrażenie. Pierwsze odniosłem.
After the situation stabilized, the Germans stopped paying attention to Messiaen, who was in the library and did not have many responsibilities there. Then he returned to music and started working on a new composition. However, the noise and sounds of life in the camp disturbed by concentration, Messiaen asked the Polish prisoners of war in the library if they could separate his small place with some partition or wall. In this way, a kind of wooden cabin was built, later called Messiaen's cell. There, the composer closed himself up and worked on the quartet's score. That's what you can see on the picture. It's Messiaen's cell. And now the next one, the cell of Messiaen. The creation of cell Messiaen, the construction by the Poles, of which was approved by the German authorities, was considered a phenomenon that enabled the composer to compose a quartet. This fact went down in history, and Etienne Pasquier recollects. None of the researchers of Messiaen biography paid any attention to it in order to emphasize the existence of the Messiaen cell. In the Görlitz camps, in an extension at the library of Jagiellonian University in Krakow in 2018. Such a cell were reconstructed. It attracted a lot of attention from visitors to the exhibition. In mid-November 1940, the Germans brought the piano to the camp in Görlitz. It was available to everyone, so Messiaen with French musicians also used it. The concerts began. Messiaen with the cellist Pasquier and the clarinetist Akota performed the Beethoven clarinet trio, which was also appreciated by the German officers. Two slides here. Nardelli and the narrator of the movie, and here we have also a little bit movie about from the
No, czyli całkiem po prostu zgadaliśmy się i zrobili koncert. Poszliśmy do sali, poszliśmy pierwszym, wydrukowaliśmy te zaproszenia. Ustaliliśmy, jak to będzie wyglądało, wszystko. Koncert odbył się w sali koncertowej, na podium. Na podium stała pianino. Przy pianinie siedział Messiaen. Pozostała trójka stała, poza wiolonczelistą oczywiście. I Akoka z boku, zupełnie. Tak jakby solistycznie. To była taki mniej więcej układ, który pamiętam o formule. Ale tak mi się wydaje, że był Messiaen, Pasquier, między innymi skrzypek i Akoka z lewej strony.
It was then that Jerzy Nardelli, a poet and writer, initiated the organization on an evening of poetry and music together with the French and invited Messiaen to participate. There were 12 Polish cadets in Messiaen's vicinity, 4 of whom were the organizer of this event. You can see the evening mark who was there. And the next slide will be about the Nardelli book, A Piece of Birds, with dedication to Professor Stankiewicz, yes, for preservation of memories. The Polish-French evening took place in mid-December 1940. Nardelli recited 13 of his poems. The poem The Abyss of Birds, with the help of his friend Samulski, and Messiaen made 5 pieces for violin, clarinet, cello, and piano composed in the camp, available for the first public performance. You can see here the Samulski book. And the next one, a little video when Samulski mentioned that he got to know Messiaen.
Tam w obozie poznałem, wie pan, Messiaena, tego sławnego kompozytora francuskiego, który komponował muzykę do poezji mojego kolegi Polaka, tak samo z niewoli. Nardelli, Zdzisław Nardelli, nie wiem czy pan zna, on napisał ten książek. I był nawet taki wieczór poetycki urządzony między Francuzami, prawda, i Belgami i Polakami, gdzie była deklamacja tych poezji na muzykę Messiaena. Ja tam deklamowałem jeden wiersz, tak samo.
The program of this event was handwritten by Bogdan Samurski, the program with the seal of the German censorship, with commemorative signature of 4 French musicians and 4 Polish performers, certifies the premiere of 5 works of Messiaen. 5 works. You can see the program. The cover, yes, about this first performance. And then 5 pieces performed at a time. You can see here. And 30 poets by Jerzy Nardelli, 30 poets. Among the 5 works of Messiaen, intertwined with recited poetry, there was also a piece titled, A Piece de Oiseaux, a title identical to Nardelli's poem Bird Abyss, Was Messiaen the first to create his title for a newly composed piece, and Nardelli, fascinated by the sound of the title, used it for his poem. On the contrary, when presenting his poem, The Bird Abyss, did the Polish poet intrigue Messiaen, who borrowed from him the same title, Abim de Złazon, corresponding to the composer's poetics. Nardelli's poetry was confiscated by the Gestapo and disappeared. Today, it is impossible to answer the question about the prototype. However, another Polish prisoner of war, Światosław Kaczynski, also a writer, amateur musician, and observer of events in the camp, claims in his published memoirs that perhaps it was Nardelli's poetry that influenced Messiaen. You can hear some video here.
To był dla mnie szok. Ja raczej wychowany na muzyce werystycznej, na operze i tak dalej. Byłem zaskoczony zupełnie muzyką, zafascynowany muzyką Messiaena. Ta klasa zresztą odczuwania muzyki Messiaena była duża. Od fascynacji do stwierdzenia, że po tej muzyce mnie zęby zabolały.
So Messiaen's first monographers such as Claude Rostam, Pierre Marie, 1965, Robert Johnson, 1975, Alain Carrière, 1979, Harry Albright, 1980, Tadeusz Kaczynski, 1984, did not deal with the order in which parts of the quartet were created. However, everyone agrees that the first piece that initiated the composing of the quartet in Berlitz was a trio for clarinet, violin, piano. The analysis of the presented document of the Polish-French evening brings colossal discoveries. First of all, it can be said that the titles of these works are identical of the titles of quartet parts announced later at the official premiere of the work. They will appear unchanged in the printed version of the score, edition Durand, Paris, 1942. The analysis of the program makes it possible to establish a new chronology of the formation of the Messiaen Quartet, contradicting many of the findings of renowned authors like Antoni Paul from the University of Nottingham and Rebecca Elishin from the University of Ohio. And now you can see on the slide 5 pieces performed, reminders of those 5 pieces. The program certified by the signature of Messiaen and 3 French musicians and 4 Polish organizers proves that by mid-December 1940 he composed and made available for performance 5 pieces, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Manuscript from Görlitz of Messiaen we can see. The complete, the 8 parts from the quartet, only 3 parts were missing, number 1, 6, and 8. The composer completed them by mid-January 1941 for the official premiere of the entire piece. We have 3 titles of pieces. However, the most problematic for researcher was the first piece of the quartet, especially since Yves Balmat claims, based on the composer's recently discovered manuscript at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, that during Messiaen service in Verdun, the liturgy of the Crystal was already composed. Note for 3 flutes, celesta, xylophone, and piano. And it was only in Stalag that Messiaen worked on for violin, clarinet, cello, and piano. At the last stage of composing the quartet, after the Polish-French evening, Messiaen places this piece in a new orchestration at the first piece. Thus, it would be a composing work that was first included in Görlitz in the form of an 8-movement quartet. And then you can see a picture of the time when the quartet was created. Antoni Paul, at the end of the 90s, could not know the above-mentioned facts. He died in 2003. People analyzed the entire quartet and all its parts in turn, stating that it seems highly probable that the first movement of the liturgy of the crystal was the last piece composed especially for the quartet. So in his opinion, Messiaen composed it in Stalag as the last part completing the form of 8 parts. Unfortunately, Paul's statement was only partially true. We learned today that the piece itself was written as the earliest in Verdun, but transcribed the quartet and could actually be placed at the very end, which is indicated by its lack in the program of the evening. So, hypothetically, today we can establish the following chronology of the creation of the parts of the quartet. So, number 1, Crystal Liturgy, stated in Verdun, finishing Görlitz as the last part. Number 2, Vocalized for an Angel, started in Verdun. Number 3, The Abyss of Birds, stated in Toul. Number 4, Interlude, the beginning of composing the quartet in Görlitz, rehearsed for the composer in the washroom. And the number 5, The Praise of Jesus' Eternity in Görlitz, transcript. Number 6, Dance, started in Verdun. Number 7, The Confusion of Rainbow Colors, started in Verdun. And number 8, Praises of Immortality in Görlitz, transcript. Until recently, in French musicology, nothing was known about the existence of the Polish-French evening program, confirming that performance of Messiaen's works in December 1940. Although this program was previously in the hands of Rebecca Richin, thanks to Yvonne Laurel of Messiaen, Richin did not discover its significance, putting forward the absurd hypothesis in her valuable monograph that such a performance of the quartet would have taken place in Nazi-occupied Poland. But how would the prisoner of war, Olivier Messiaen, take part in the performance? After all, we have his own signature on the program. The composer had a month to complete his missing 3 parts, from mid-December to mid-January, period filled with preparation in the camp until Christmas and the celebration of the New Year's meeting. And we have the scenes of Nativity. On this occasion, Polish prisoners of war stuck a traditional New Year's nativity scene, the satirical text of which ridiculed the Germans. During those 4 weeks, rehearsal had to take place because Wednesday, January 15, 1941, was approaching, the day on which the camp commandant announced a concert performed by prisoners, for which he ordered only French prisoners to appear in the theater Barak. None of the Polish prisoners of war were present, and it is known that several French-speaking Belgians had joined. We have 3 slides. And the last one will be the drawing. This is a drawing of Messiaen by Samulski. That's the drawing. This is how the official premiere of the entire piece of Messiaen took place, with the title Quartet for the End of Time, only then given. I will omit here considering the great and widely known legend surrounding this concert. One thing is certain that it did not take place in January among the snows on the assembly square for 5,000 prisoners, as the composer initially claimed, in the cool theater Barak, where it could enter together with German officers, guards, and the sick brought on the stretcher about 400 prisoners. We have the theater slide of the Barak. Everything was created to be used by the German propaganda to demonstrate the correct standard of living in POW camp, even artistic activity. Despite this political aspect, the event went down in the history of 20th century music. So Alex Rose, an option-forming critic of the Weekly New Yorker, in his famous book, The Rest is Noise, said, "You could say that the era of avant-garde in music began even before the end of the war, on a frosty winter evening in 1941, when the premiere of Olivier Messiaen Quartet for the End of Time took place in Stalag 8, a prisoner of war camp. The work amazed most of the audience. Nevertheless, there was a respectful silence in the hall, and we can see now the slide with the statement of Messiaen. Messiaen was very moved by this premiere performance of a piece he had written in captivity. He reacted towards the end of his life with the confession that his music has never been listened with such excitement as it was then. And we can see the next slide. Yes, magazine from 1941. An anonymous reviewer, MV, those are the beginning letters, whose name is still undeciphered to this day, wrote in the camp's newspaper, Le Lumillon, that the performance of the quartet was a miracle that happened in the camp. There are exactly 4 weeks left for Messiaen to be released from the camp from the day of its premiere. We will not stop at the circumstance of his release from captivity, to which the German guardian of the composer, the camp translator Bruno, contributed, and the fact that Messiaen worked as a paramedic and he was a soldier who did not carry a weapon. Now we have another slide that might authorize him to return to the country, issued by Pasquier. Messiaen was held captive for exactly 7 months, from July 15 to February 14, 1941. This date, which I am giving on the basis of the German transport list to France that I found, where Messiaen is with Etienne Pasquier, closest guardian and friend. The prisoners are transported to Switzerland. Then they are quarantined in Lyon. Messiaen may embrace his wife, Claire Delbos, and 4-year-old son Pascal in early March 1941. The miracle of performance and impact to the audience of the quartet, about which this anonymous writer V.E. wrote, this miracle happened constantly because Messiaen's work is now performed in the largest concert hall in the world and on many university campuses in the United States. It's hard to imagine, but it resounds in the world every second or third day every month. There is no work in the music literature of the 20th century so strongly resembled thanks to frequent performances later in the works of John Cage, Yannick Xenakis, or Pierre Boulez, or the great composer of the 20th century. This work, Olivier Messiaen, as a symbol of the victory of humanism over human enslavement, continues its extraordinary success. We will have a slide video from the last interview of Olivier Messiaen 1 month before his death, 1992.
Merci bien. Ja? Als je nog meer vragen hebt. Quand vous faisiez l'explication, il est important que vous indiquiez très bien si vous parlez du papier gauche ou droite. C'est pour le caméra aussi, puisqu'on va faire après en gauche.
I would like to show you a previous excerpt from the last interview.
Comme vous voulez. Mais celui-là le plus intéressant, c'est le programme.
Alors on commence d'abord avec l'autre, et puis on revient en programme.
On commence à gauche.
J'ai pris links. Ja? Jullie bent zover? Alors si vous expliquez.
Alors vous voyez ici deux photographies très noires. Ce sont des souvenirs précieux pour moi. J'ai eu au Stalag un camarade qui je crois est maintenant mort, mais sa veuve m'a envoyé des photocopies de 2 petits documents. L'un est une dédicace qui lui a été faite par les 4 instrumentistes du Quatuor. Il y a donc une dédicace de Pasquier, de moi d'abord, ensuite d'Étienne Pasquier, puis de Henri Acoca, le clarinettiste, et ça finit par le violoniste Jean Le Boulel. Et en dessus, j'ai mis le chant du violoncelle. Je vous joue beaucoup plus vite, il faut. Et le papier de droite, qui est encore plus noir malheureusement, j'en suis désolé, vous voyez dedans, sur le côté, un petit cercle. C'est le tampon du Stalag qui m'a permis d'emporter ce papier chez lui. Enfin, qui a permis à mon camarade d'emporter ce papier chez lui. J'ai d'ailleurs ici des partitions, celle dont je vous parlais tout à l'heure, que j'avais emportées dans ma musette, la Comédie d'un Faune, la Suite de Berg, les concertos de Bach, avec des tampons. Je les ai gardés patiemment, ce sont des souvenirs. Alors, sur cette page de droite, vous voyez ce tampon, et puis ici, c'est le programme que j'avais moi-même écrit à la main. Pour les prisonniers, il n'y avait pas de photocopieuse, il n'y avait pas de machine à quai, il n'y avait rien. Alors nous étions à plusieurs, nous avions rédigé des programmes pour des centaines de programmes pour les prisonniers, où il y a tout simplement le titre et les sous-titres.
So it shows the program, the title for the end of time, and in 8 parts of the work. That's what Olivier was showing in this video. And now we will have the next slide, the last photo of Olivier Messiaen, taken at home by his wife, Yvonne Loriot. Yes, that was taken. Olivier Messiaen died 5 weeks later after this photo, on April 27, 1992. This year, the music world is celebrating 30th anniversary of his death. And we're gonna have the bibliography to the presentation. Special thanks. And the last icon, portrait icon of Olivier Messiaen. So thank you very much. It was written November 2nd in Krakow, All Souls Day. Professor Jerzy Stankiewicz. If you have some questions, you can ask. We can have the translation. Okay? If you have any question regarding the lecture, I can translate it Polish or French. You know, but maybe the French, because there are some people who speak French.
My question. Hello.
It works.
It works. My question is this: can you tell us, Professor, the significance of this piece, the Quartet de la fin de temps, in the 20th century and 21st century contemporary music?
Signification du quatuor pour la fin du temps. Double. Pour Olivier Messiaen, c'est l'œuvre qui a ouvert le développement de son langage musical. Tout ce qui était important plus tard dans sa technique de langage musical, c'est commencé avec quatuor. Et technique de rythme, les oiseaux, et construction de la forme, mais surtout le rythme, celui qui parle. Il ne veut pas utiliser le rythme régulier, et c'est pour ça qu'il va créer sa technique du rythme. Et tout ça commence dans les quatuors.
So the importance of the quatuor for the end of time is crucial for Olivier Messiaen, because it's the beginning of an opening to all this new technique, and this technique is essentially based on a new approach to especially rhythm. And he started, of course, with his relationship with the birds and with all kind of sounds, but that was a very essential, crucial moment that is going to condition all the rest of his work and compositions.
Merci. Deuxièmement, l'œuvre indépendante, l'œuvre qui est l'un des plus importants œuvres de la musique contemporaine aujourd'hui. L'œuvre qui est jouée dans le monde entier, et on ne sait pas pourquoi. Il est joué partout. Il est joué aux États-Unis, dans les campus de l'université, il est joué dans les philharmonies européennes, il est joué à Cracovie. Samedi, il y aura de nouveau une nouvelle présentation des œuvres par Spółdzielnia Muzyczna, l'ensemble de musique contemporaine à Cracovie par exemple. Et ce soir ici. Et donc l'œuvre est vraiment très connue, très appréciée. Et appréciée pourquoi? Parce que c'est une œuvre qui porte un message spirituel. Message spirituel qui est né dans ces difficultés de la vie, difficultés techniques, difficultés matérielles et difficultés spirituelles aussi. Alors c'est l'œuvre sortie de l'Apocalypse de Saint Jean qui, d'après Messiaen, donne l'espérance, donne amour et donne la paix pour ceux qui participent, qui écoutent, qui ont contact avec sa musique. L'œuvre d'un message humaniste.
So secondly, this masterpiece is played, performed all over the world and appreciated and valued all over the world, in America even, in Europe and in all the world. And we don't really know why, but maybe and surely because this piece is about humanism. It's about the hope and the sense of peace that can still exist beyond and above what was happening at that time, in the time of war and when Olivier was a prisoner. This piece is based on the Apocalypse according to St. John. And so the most important maybe is that this piece is a message to humanity, but a message, a spiritual message, and that can inspire humanity to create a better world of peace and hope and faith and beauty. I have that.
So I would like to thank you very much, Professor Jerzy Stankiewicz, for this amazing presentation. And thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to have a special now, next second part of this event regarding the Olivier Messiaen would be the movie. A movie by Bruno, who is with us, wonderful filmmaker. And I would like to say, Paul, maybe just a few words about this movie that we're going to say about the Quartet of Time. Okay, you can say us. Okay, Paul is with us. Paul is a New York-based artist, and Paul Moon will say a few words about this movie that we're going to. Hello, Paul.
Thank you. And I didn't know that I was to say a few words, so I guess it will be very brief, mercifully brief. But I think it has been a real treat for me to see things the way we have halfway, and then to hear the music, because the limitations of a documentary is that one cannot be as thorough as we had just heard. Also, I did not have the honor of meeting the composer as you have. And so I think what you'll see next, after having gotten such a rare glimpse into a first-hand view of the piece, next you'll see something that will sort of go a little bit more strictly movement by movement through the piece and talk about each of the movements in relation to each other. But then, since it's cinema, we're using a visual language. For sure, again, lacking the detail of scholarship, it will skim through some things. It won't tell the whole story in a very biographical way, but rather you could think of it as more of a visual, tone poem look at the piece. And then, of course, the great payoff, if you can stay for the performance afterward, after a break when I understand that they need to tune up and sound check and all those things. There's nothing better than finally hearing the actual music itself, because that's where the genius really is. So thank you, especially to this festival.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for the translation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Thank you. So I hope you will enjoy now the movie, The Quartet of the End of Time, by Bruno. So thank you very much. I would like to thank Paul, and we would like to give you the flowers. Thank you for this amazing call, amazing movie. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a really right. That was good. Now let me say 2 words. Now we're going to have a break, but I invite you to have some little water and also maybe have some little cake. And maybe for those who are maybe first coming to center, there's an amazing neighborhood here. We can just walk around. We will start coming around 6:45, and they will hear a really concert with the Messiaen piece and also my piece that was dedicated to homage of Olivier Messiaen. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you later.